Hey guys, welcome to the Game Dev Discussion Podcast. This is episode 17. This is the official podcast of the Dynasty Empire. Now, before we get rolling, I just want to give a quick shout out. We have a new partner for the Dynasty Empire. Lucas Stratton has a YouTube channel for Blender. If you're interested in learning Blender, this guy is a genius. He's helped me learn Blender, and I know he's helped a bunch of people in the Dynasty Empire learn Blender. So I'm linking his channel in chat, and I'll link it after when I post it online in the description on the videos. Go give him a subscribe. Honestly, he, in terms of like workflow and being efficient and good in Blender, this guy's a boss. But on today's podcast, we have junior environment artist, recent acquisition of Rebellion, Kieran Goodson. How are you doing, bro?
Hey man, what's up?
Man, I'm good. How's have you melted yet to the British weather?
Nearly. Like, luckily the office is super. Like the aircon is super good, and I sit right underneath it. So it's funny. Like I go into like a freezer environment for the whole day, and I walk out the office, and it's like that feeling when you jump off a plane abroad and you get like hit by the heat and the sun.
Yeah.
It's been like that for the last month or so. If you're going down the pub after, it's fine, but walking to the station half an hour, it's a sweaty one.
Damn, son, that sounds grim. So I've got to say, you're one of the main things I do want to talk to you about is, funnily enough, networking. I remember when I saw your LinkedIn article, I learned a lot about you. I didn't realize you went to Coventry University, my hometown. So I want to just talk a bit about one. Okay, why did you write that article? You know, you've made it into the industry. You've done all your hard work. Why do the extra little bit? Why did you write that article?
Good question. I think mainly because there's like when you graduate, or if you're a student and you're not kind of within our spheres, so you're not involved with Polycount or you're not jumping into Discords like we have. There's such a shroud of mystery around the industry and whether you're good enough. What does it actually entail? What you're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis. But like on the most part, how to structure an application, a CV, that kind of thing. And I had to do a lot of digging in order to find out that information while I was applying.
Mm-hmm.
So when I kind of did it and I went through it all, I thought, what a perfect opportunity to kind of provide something that I never had when I was trying to break in, and just tell my story in a way, let people know how I did it, and that probably if I can do it, then you can do it easily, because I don't come from an art background, and I never went to I did a games course at uni. It was mainly design and programming. It wasn't art at all. So.
Oh really? I thought you did
Yeah.
game art at uni. Oh, my mistake. That's
No, we
interesting.
did. We had a couple of modeling modules, which was basically just like intro to Max, and animation. Further than box modeling, there wasn't much in terms of teaching. But I think that, without going too deep into the realm of university versus online learning, you get what you put in, basically.
Yeah.
So if you're not supplementing what you're doing at uni with extracurricular work or personal work, building portfolio, then you might struggle like I did. And especially because I didn't manage to secure a placement as part of my university course. So they offer a year in between your second and your final year where you can go off and intern and join the industry and work for a year, get that experience, and then come back and finish your degree. And then you've already, you come out a graduate, but you've already got a year under your belt. So you're in an ideal situation where you can just jump straight back into work.
Yeah.
And the course itself was actually marketed in the way that some people had managed to get that placement, and the studio after, when their placement had come to an end, said, "Hey, look, like we really like you. You've done some cracking work. Here's a full-time job offer." And they actually never went back to uni to finish the degree because they'd essentially achieved what they set out to do. But unfortunately, I didn't get that opportunity. So
Well, you did a
I
lot
really
more.
had to
I think you
hustle
did a lot
after.
though. Yeah, as I say, that's what I'm interested in. So we've spoken before. I know me and you have spoken to other people in the Dynasty Discord voice chat about LinkedIn. Now, I want to put a caveat out there. LinkedIn is kind of like what you just said. You get what you put in, and I know it has like a kind of I don't want to say a bad rep, but people are like, it's useless. I strongly disagree. I think LinkedIn's very, very, very useful, and I'm not sure what your thoughts are. It'd be cool to hear your thoughts on it. Like, what did you do? You're in your second year. Like I said, you didn't get the opportunities that you wanted to get. You did a fantastic job, I think, in terms of the extras you could have done using stuff like LinkedIn and the art communities that are around. What are your thoughts on LinkedIn in general? Connecting with people and talking and using it what it's designed for. Like, do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? It's tripe.
Yeah, I think LinkedIn is brilliant. But I'm going to just put this straight out there, right at the front of the conversation. It's not Facebook. It's not Twitter. It's not Instagram. It's a professional platform. And although some people might treat it as like Facebook and just giving like very, very brief updates or putting personal stuff on there, I don't think that's where you can get the most benefit out of LinkedIn from. I think as a student, what LinkedIn gives you is a professional voice, and you have concise information about yourself, what you are, like where you've been, what you've studied, what you can do, and it's a perfect opportunity to get in the faces of recruiters and the HR people from these game studios and say, look, hey, I exist. Here's my work. Here's where I've been. Here are my grades. Are you interested? And that's often a better way to do it as opposed to going through the regular application process. Obviously, you'll have to do that anyway. But if someone catches you on LinkedIn and then they see your name in an application pile, they're going to be like, oh, I know this person, I recognize the face, or oh, I remember this piece of art. Then that's one more, that's a step up
I was gonna
already
say,
from
do
the amount of
you
people.
speak to art? Like, do you speak to the art side of it? So you mentioned the HR and the recruitment side of people. Did you ever, when you were searching work, did you ever connect and talk to, say, like seniors and leads and directors? Did you ever do that, or were you focused primarily on the recruiters and the HR side of stuff?
No, all the time. I was talking to literally anyone and everyone from the industry, whether that was designers or artists or HR or
What was
recruiters,
the
anyone.
introduction to that? Because so when I ever say to people, like, so I've given advice before, like, go connect and talk to these people, learn about them, like, ask them questions, and they always say, oh, I don't know how to introduce myself to them. I don't know how that is awkward. So what did you do?
Yeah.
You see an art director or lead artist on LinkedIn, you press connect. What do you do?
Well, first of all, don't just press connect. You add the personalized message because LinkedIn's not Pokemon Go. You're not spamming connect with everyone. You're supposed to be cultivating like relationships with these people, and they are just people. Like it's not. It's easy to gamify this kind of thing, but for LinkedIn especially, it's people I think are just going to genuinely ignore you if your shotgun invites out. You have to personalize it, and you have to introduce yourself in a friendly and casual manner, even though it's a professional kind of website. So, for example, I don't know how we connected personally, but let's use this example. I mean, I originally messaged Clinton Crumpler from Decagon, and I said, "Hey, like, I'm a huge fan of your Subway piece. It was one of the main reasons why I wanted to get into environment art. I'm trying to get into the industry. Do you have any tips? Like, thanks for taking the time to read, Kieran." That was along the lines of my message, and he came back with an incredible answer, paragraphs and paragraphs, which is, as a graduate who's not had any experience with talking to people from the industry, it's really humbling that someone's taken the time out to talk to you like that. So
Yeah,
that's
them
the
guys
way
in that
to
position.
introduce yourself.
The guys in them positions, Clinton, Tim's brilliant for it. Tim Simpson, Jeremy, all these guys. This is what I love about our industry. The experienced guys don't turn their nose up and go, "I'm too busy" or "I'm," anything like that. They're so down to earth and they're happy to invest the time. And I think it's that you said, you taking the time to be polite, because it's manners at the end of the day. You don't walk up to someone in the street and just like start asking for stuff. You introduce, you say hello. You know what I mean? Though you do the pleasantries.
Yeah.
And I've always found
Goes a long way.
Yeah, it does, because it just means like, and I'm the same. If people just shock and connect me on LinkedIn, I'm tend to, unless there's I can see a valid reason, I tend to ignore it, because I'm just like, this person hasn't given me the time of day, I won't give them the time of day.
Yeah.
And I do think it's that's the important bit for me, is that adding that note. Don't just press connect. Why are you connecting with this person? And them knowing that you're thinking about that goes a long way. We're going to get back onto this a little bit, the asking why, that question, why. But I think them just seeing that you've thought about this, it goes a long way in terms of shaping your character. Now, it has done for you, because seeing that article you wrote, the first one, The Road to Rebellion, and also the two blog posts you put on about like design and the player mentality stuff, it shapes a very interesting picture for you, very articulate, very well thought. Now, I find when you put that initial note to say, my name's Kieran, and here's the reason I'm connecting with you for this reason, can you help me? Being articulate and doing that, straight away the person's like, right, this kid's switched on, this kid's got his head screwed on right, he's talking the way he should. It just straight away shapes a perception of you.
Yeah. It's all about that first impression.
So what
and
about...
that goes for...
So carry on?
I'm just going to say, I mean, that goes for any kind of activity you're going to put online. I think LinkedIn, for me, is part of a broader picture in terms of social media, where I use Instagram and I use Twitter quite a lot. And I like to think of it as playing a song. So, and ArtStation, obviously we're artists at the end of the day, and our big kind of punchlines, our deliveries are our artwork. But these things take a lot of time. So in the middle, I personally like to write blog posts and share screenshots from films on Twitter, or just personal photography stuff on Instagram. Like it's a good way to keep being creative in between projects and even working on projects. But also just engaging with people in the industry all the time, whether that's retweeting something goofy or sharing like, congratulations Lucas on becoming a partner, that kind of thing. And you get to talk to a lot of devs that way, especially through Twitter, because you're just chatting. It's not, especially in Instagram and
it's very human,
Twitter realms. Exactly, it's very personable, whereas LinkedIn can be okay, like
hi sir.
Yeah, nice to meet you, kind regards.
So on top of LinkedIn, what other stuff were you doing? So you said yourself, you didn't obviously have the opportunity you wanted to have back in the university. What else were you doing? Let's just park for a sec art, because art's obvious. That's like, what should I do as an artist to get a job in the games industry? Make art. Like, it's given. It's a truism. What else were you doing bar LinkedIn in terms of just helping yourself? What little things were you doing to give you the best chance possible?
Yeah, aside from trying my best to make good art, which is harder than it seems, putting stuff out on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, connecting with people where I can, but really being active at Discord and the Dynasty Empire is massive for me, if you'll pardon the pun. It was massive in terms of my personal growth with art and networking and stuff. I met a lot of you guys through that, and I've never regretted it at all. Like, I've never had a negative experience with it. It's been so good. Getting feedback and learning from so many people and meeting people that I otherwise wouldn't have met, because if you don't put yourself out there, you don't give yourself the opportunities to be found by these groups. Or an extra thing I got involved with was Polycount. Originally I kind of stumbled upon Polycount. I was like, wow, this is like a huge forum. It's like Reddit, but just for game stuff. How cool. And I started putting my stuff on there, and I was working away on this environment, and one day I get this ping from Polycount, and I thought, oh, okay, it's someone saying, oh, you're a scrub, blah blah blah, or like the opposite, like, oh, well done, cool, awesome, those kind of spammy comments. Where it turns out I actually I was gotten contacted with by Kirill from A2 level, and he said, "Hey, like I really like your work. It's pretty awesome. I don't think I've seen anything like it. I'd like to feature you on the website." And that kind of blew my mind that I was on this website learning as much as possible, clicking on articles and reading from all these different amazing artists in the industry, and then all of a sudden this guy's wanting me to be a part of that. That was quite special and humbling. Then I eventually delivered him an environment about 2 or 3 months late. I think he was very keen and very persistent on getting my work on the website, but I just said it's coming, and then to kind of pay him back a bit, I decided to really dive deep when it came to my breakdown and trying to give as much value possible.
So you're because you made it, went joined Rebellion, which obviously congratulations on. What can you say in terms of I do see people ask quite a lot and mainly in the Discord, I'll be honest, because starting what I don't know what my first week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks is going to be like as a new starter. What can you say about it? How's the first 6 weeks been? What did you anticipate what it was going to be like? Were you surprised by things? And obviously, people listening take a grain of salt. Kieran can only say so much. We're not going to. He's only just joined the company. We're going to get him fired straight away.
Guys, I have an announcement. Just messing. I think again, like I was saying earlier, it's kind of like a shroud of mystery aside from what's listed on these job postings, like you'll be making materials or you'll be modeling and blah 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 blah. Obviously, I'm not going to dive too deep into that, but for me, it was I kind of just took everything like one day at a time, and fortunately, I joined the studio at a time where things are calm, and it's not constant pressure and work and pumping stuff out. So it's really nice because it's been giving me a window of opportunity just to soak everything in and learn as much as possible. And the company in particular have been really accommodating to me, and I have to give a shout out to an environment artist, Alex Zemskov, who's been kind of keeping an eye on me and making sure my work's up to standard and basically debugging 3ds Max for me every time I break it. So I really appreciate that. If you're listening.
Ask, what's that interaction like? So
it's golden.
So is it you go to him? Do you always have to be like, dude, I don't know why this is happening, or is he sometimes just corner of his eye, keep an eye on, and does he spot something and go, Kieran, what about this?
Yes, it's a mixture of both. For the most part, it's just you're given a task and it's head down, kind of get on with it. But a benefit of being a part of a studio as opposed to working on a portfolio at home is that you can literally just swivel around or turn to the guy next to you and say, hey, I'm having troubles with this, and 9 times out of 10 it will be like a 2-second fix. But because you've never done it before, it seems like magic. But obviously they do this on a daily basis, so it's amazing. And if you have company events, like we had a barbecue not too long ago, that was and just going down the pub every Friday or whatever, any kind of socializing that you can do with people from work, outside of work, is really good. And you get to know the people behind the games. And
yeah, I do. I've always said it's good to be friends with people you work with, because I apply this from like my rugby background, but it's like teams where people weren't friends, we never tend to be successful teams. But when you're friends with people, you do the extra 2%, I find. So by being the people to go out and go for a beer with your work colleagues, they become friends. And when you get caught in a pinch when back's against the wall, you work harder for your friends. And that's why
exactly. It. When times get tough, you stick together. You don't just
ditch each other,
leave each other. Yeah. So I mean, overall, like the first 6 weeks have been great for me. Advice I'd give to people starting, to the Jays and the Ricks and the Neils and the Dirks and John Joes of the world. Congratulations to all those guys, by the way. They're smashing it. Um, it's, wear your intern and junior title as a protective vest, because people don't expect you to know everything. And you have to get used to the pipeline and the way they process stuff, and checking stuff in and out of various systems, and making sure you understand, the more bureaucratic part of the process. Basically just making sure you're organized and you understand what's expected of you. But know that it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to take time creating stuff, because ultimately no one's expecting you to bust out like an insane environment with those kind of titles. So take it easy, breathe, make mistakes, and just be a sponge.
I mean, this is what brings me on though to like the whole, making art in your portfolio. Like you in the studio, you're not expected to churn out an environment, man, in like a month. Like it's a team effort. You might be only on one small section of an environment. Yeah, I know you did it with your portfolio. I've done it with mine. I know everyone else has done it with theirs. They make this conscious effort to try and make everything, or go big, make an environment. It's like, but an environment is in production. An environment is never a one-man job ever.
Yeah, I mean, that God of War documentary, which came out a couple of months ago, and what I've also noticed in the last kind of 5-6 weeks is it's astonishing that anything cohesive is made, because it literally is the culmination of hundreds, maybe several hundreds of people's micro decisions on a daily basis, and then at the end of it you've got an astonishing, and for some people life-changing experiences. Games it's such an interactive medium compared to something like the radio or cinema, where it's more passive. Like you're in the middle of it, and it does take hundreds of people to kind of stick together and make something that actually not only technically works, because we're in a technical industry and shit goes wrong all the time for no apparent reason often. But the fact that some of these insane games are made artistically, and just the amount of effort that goes into them, the sacrifice as well in terms of money and time and energy and relationships and all sorts. It's just breathtaking in a way.
So
you're breathtaking.
The meme. Well, I was curious. You said you made an interesting point there about like you're amazed that anything's cohesive, because obviously there's so many people. Why do you think? How do you think games do it? Just like your viewpoint. How do games maintain cohesion across so many artists and so many different disciplines? What some steps do you think they take to make that happen?
That's a cracking question. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert, because I only have a small insight. But I would say, opinion. I would guess very good leadership and strong art direction. Whether the majority of people like the direction that someone might be taking a game in. These studios are a business at the end of the day. Like we're making commercial products, and if they don't sell, you're out of a job. It's as simple as that. Fortunately, what is created at the end of these development cycles are amazing. So A, it takes strong leadership, but B, like you say, with any kind of, if you're involved with any form of sport, that when shit hits the fan, you start to really see who's really in it, and true colours and all of that. And I think going through some kind of adversity really does bring people together. If you're 4-0 down at football, like you either give up and you feel the team give up, or it takes one strong leader to say, guys, come on, we got this. Like, pick ourselves up and let's go. And then all of a sudden, it's a different story by the time it's done.
I think you need a lot of buy-in from everyone as well. Like you said, you need a focal point of a direction. And I think one thing that's quite important is the guys within a team, that's both artists, animators, programmers, everyone. You all need to sort of almost I don't want to say detach yourself, because you are attached to your work, but you need to be willing to put your all into something, even though you may disagree fundamentally. You know, and I think that's sometimes where the best games, because sometimes directors are directors because they have vision. That's, you know, no one there's not a director on the planet who's at where they are because they're not good at their job. There's a reason they're in that role. So I think that's something that is both hard to do, but also what makes the studio run, is being able to go, you know what, even though I don't quite agree, I'm going to trust a guy and I'm going to make this the best I possibly can, even though my personal taste disagrees. I think that's pretty huge as well.
Yeah, I think what you're chipping away at is it comes down, especially for artists, just to raw passion. Like, we love what we do, and if we were in it for the money, we would probably be doing something else, right? Like, we've had some form of experience with games growing up, which has probably sparked something inside of us, which has gone like, yeah, there's something really special about what we do, and we should cherish it and work hard to do the same for, you know, younger people, so they can experience what we did. You know, just loving what you do, good direction, and that's, I think, why games are so special.
There's a key word that I want to get onto, is why. So you've mentioned it before, and it's a really interesting point. And I just want you to sort of describe what you think about this. When you get critique, so say I met up with Rick and Jay yesterday, and we're talking about this briefly. If you have, like, say, we're going to talk about guns for a second. You have a gun, and you get critique. This bit's wrong. You know, that's not realistic. That's proportionally wrong. Fix it. Rather than just going away like a robot and going, yeah, fix. How I just want to talk about how important it is just to be like asking why. And I don't mean that in a way in terms of, you know, disagree with the person giving the critique. What I mean is understanding why that, I don't call it a mistake, but why that happened. So using a gun as a reference, as the example, it's like, okay, this isn't right, this isn't right, this isn't right. Maybe my reference isn't right. Maybe I wasn't following my reference properly. You know, maybe I set it up in the incorrect way so that I couldn't follow it properly. It's that, why is it, rather than just going away and fixing it, actually understanding why it happened. So really, you could talk a bit about it. It's your idea originally, so it's a really interesting way of thinking about it.
Yeah, I think this I think comes into two branches where, with personal work, it's amazing to get a critique. I'm not doubting that. Everyone needs critique and feedback. It takes a certain type of person to say, you know what, I appreciate your feedback, but this is the art direction I'm going in, so thank you, but no thank you. But also on the flip side, you need to be humble enough to say, or to at least attempt to understand where that feedback is coming from. So they might say, like, oh, you got to fix your handle grip for your gun. And you're like, well, okay, yeah, obviously there's something wrong with it, but I can't put my finger on it. You know, where's that feedback coming from? And being specific when you're personally giving feedback, I think, is really important. And, you know, when it comes to, this is the second part, when it comes to asking why the whole time, I like to do it because it forces you to question the logic and the purpose behind everything that you're creating. So if you're thinking about literally every single part of the environment or the asset, and you're thinking about the design of it and how things are physically structured, and being able to either stick with that or put a twist on it and make it your own, I think you, at the end of it, you get to craft something which has more meaning and more purpose, because you've gone through a thought process of, well, why is this like this, and who's had an influence over it, and what's the story behind that particular component of the environment or the asset. And for me, it's that's a good place to start, because I think with us, it's easy to get carried away with making everything sexy. We're artists, we like aesthetic, but often or not, what we fall down on is the design of our environments. We try to make something visually appeasing, but it's hard to read because there's no design to it, whether that's lighting which needs fixing, or scale, or proportion, or that looks like it's supposed to be connected to that, but I can't actually read it like that because it's just floating or it's just next to each other. Like when that kind of detail is modeled in, say for a gun, for example, you've got your stock and then your main barrel. You often when you're making parts of a gun or a model, you'll just make them and you won't kind of think about how they physically fit together. You kind of just like smush them together, and you get the overall shape that way. But when people take the time to model that detail in with the small screws and the bevels and interlocking parts like pieces of puzzle connecting together, that's what makes it next level.
Yeah.
That's where the design takes precedent over the art. And I think for games in general, art is super important and art direction is super important. But if you've got a game that is designed badly, you're going to notice that, and that breaks the immersion, no matter how good your art is. Like it's, I think, form over function, and that form over function phrase comes specifically from Feng Zhu, who I don't know if you're aware of. I've literally just this week dived into some of his stuff on YouTube. He's a concept artist in the entertainment industry. I think he works in both games and film. A lot like people like Ash Thorpe and Maciej Kuciara.
He does a Twitch stream as well, doesn't he?
I think so, yeah.
I think I'm watching a few episodes of that.
But I mean, these last few videos, he's talked about form over function, and it's just breathtaking because, this guy's a concept artist. You imagine these people to be painting away in Photoshop all day, every day, but actually he's taking the time to plan out everything. From he collects his reference as usual, and that's great for the art detail, but for the design he's thinking about, well, how does this staircase connect to this building, and why is that building bigger than the next building, and okay, I've got these this kind of like village situated on a isolated mountainside. Well, what kind of rocks should there be in that kind of environment? And he thinks about everything kind of bigger picture coming together, but then on a design level, how stuff works, and then on top of that, the art side and then the lighting and the direction. It's lots of layers. There's so much more to environment art than it is just I'll make floaty islands.
Its design, I feel like, is not appreciated. So you spoke about if you have bad design, it's not it breaks the immersion. But you think about design, like, so you got two things to sort of juggle really. You've got like there's the composition stuff, where in terms of like you got the artist fighting composition. So I know TJ spoke about rules of three and all them sort of principles and tangents and all this kind of stuff. But as a designer, you're in your head going, right, like you tend to be like it's like a bread trail. You go like, okay, I'm going to put this prop here. Why am I putting this prop here? For this reason. Like say I don't know, a workbench. I'm going to put this tool here. Why is that tool there? Because the guy's making something and he needs that tool. What tool? Yeah, what is he making that would require that tool? This. What other bits would he need? This. And suddenly you build this like, it's like it snowballs out of control quite quickly. But that's the battle I feel like you've got, is the designing a level. And this can be an environmental analysis as well, because I know environmental analysis obviously design stuff as well, do set dressing and stuff. I think that question of why, I think can literally, if you went through an old environment, I know I've done this with old environments, is ask why for everything. Why have I put that prop there? Why is that there? Why is this here? Why have I chosen that design decision? And suddenly, if you kind of have a why, suddenly when you look at an image and you go, it doesn't look right. I don't know why, it's just not right to me, and it's a super vague thing. Normally, if I ever get that sort of like critique, I go, okay, I need to seriously like drive down into this, because it's one of two things: either the composition's bad and there's stuff like tangents and stuff going on, or the design's bad. Whenever I hear that it's not right thing, and I feel like that's a constant battle, because it's like design wise, might say, oh, I need like this prop here, because that makes sense from a design point of view. But then the artist can be like, oh, but that compositionally looks really, really bad, and it creates a tangent or it does whatever. I feel like that's a real battle.
This leads nicely into portfolio images versus like producing levels, whereby stuff like the composition and tangents and stuff, that's very we think about that a lot when it comes to personal work. and it's important in production as well. But you have to think that what we're producing is just, these are like your 3D environments in their Sunday best, like from the perfect angle with the perfect lighting with zero tangents, like really, beautiful shot and render for ArtStation. But in reality and in game environments, they're not like that at all. Maybe from certain angles, but in reality, they're not. It's much more important to have a set design in 3D space, because ultimately, we think about stuff like storytelling for environments. We think, okay, how do I weave a story into this? I'll place that prop here and put a blood here, or the cliches and tropes. But I think what really supplements that is good design, because design itself tells a story. It's often overlooked because the aesthetics are sexier. But the good thing about thinking about design is it also makes your piece readable, and that's super important when it comes to conveying your message and your tone and your atmosphere. Because if people look at your image and think, okay, it looks cool, but I don't really get it, I don't really know what's going on, might be because the design is off, amongst other things like compositional choices which might need to be amended, or color theory is slightly off, or you could place that here to make it more visually appealing, that kind of thing.
What about, I'm trying to think the best way to word this without making it sound weird. Is there any sort of design tropes? You mentioned a few like storytelling tropes, blurred, that kind of stuff. Is there any like unique or really interesting storytelling devices that appeal to you? And just give context to that a little bit. Like the stuff I really like is showing use within the environment. So just to get, like, say for example, my house. I hate show house type homes. Where if it's perfectly tidy, I'm like, this doesn't feel like a home. People don't use this. This isn't functional. If that makes sense. I feel the same about environments. Whenever I see environments that are used, worked with, that appeals to me from a storytelling point of view. Because to me, it just gives me a sense of whether it's a lived in place or not lived in place. So that's my like little thing I like. So what is there any little like design things that sort of tick you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's I think you can do a lot with camera angles. I think field of view, depth of field, lighting in particular. I think you can do so much with just those things, ignoring everything else in the picture, in the scene. You can make a scene feel claustrophobic by having, a super narrow lens and everything close up, and you can make things feel awkward and skewed and creepy just by moving the camera into a certain place, or focusing on something in particular. I think that helps also. People. I say people. I mean, I have seen people say, "Hey, I'm looking for some feedback. I'm trying to make a creepy scene, make this feel kind of scary," and they've got everything stereotypically which you would need. So they've got the right kind of colors, and they're focusing on certain things, and they've got the storytelling stuff in, like the blood, and like a smashed up corridor, setting the scene, but the camera angle isn't quite right, and you can make things look even more awkward. I'll show you a really good example. An artist, a 2D artist called Giamma something. I do forget his. I forget his surname. He's a really well-known concept artist. There's a particular piece that he's done of gargoyles, and from the brush strokes and the shape language, he's got everything there, and the colors. It's cool. It's dark. It's moody. Things are spiky and kind of offsetting. But the way he used the camera and the way he structured the art piece, with the camera and how he's presented it, it's awkward and it puts you on edge because it doesn't look visually pleasing. It's not one of those sweet, sexy, amazing renders that you see and you're just blown away. It's like, oh Christ, something about this isn't right. But that enhances the mood so much more because of how he's chosen to place the camera.
It's very interesting.
And I've been studying.
Stuff.
Yeah, I've been studying stuff like Stanley Kubrick and some of these cinematographers and directors about how they use the camera in particular. And I think you can borrow a lot from cinema in particular and put it into games because the games are becoming more cinematic day by day, and it's quite an appealing thing to have. But also, it's in a lot of ways an older medium. Cinema's been around since maybe the 20s, 30s, maybe even older than that. Nearly 100 years. How about that? And they've been tackling stuff like composition and depth and how to create layered scenes and camera angles and everything. Mise en scène, they call it in media. It's about the structure of costume and camera and it's set dressing stuff. So it's perfect for an environment artist because it's the same job but just in film. So we can learn a lot from film in particular and apply it to our environments. And there's so much character and story you can tell in an environment without having any people in it whatsoever.
I think it's we spoke about this previously. It's when you treat the environments as like they're extensions of what you've just said, mood and character. What other things? So you mentioned cameras. Cameras is a great way. So like you mentioned, if you have a really strategically placed camera, you can convey a completely different mood. And you set a mood for the character, for the scene. A scene, like I said, has a personality. Like a good example of one is like with the Jay Cummings' Slaughterhouse. The fact that it's like a really low angle shot and the gif that he has for it, like it's coming out of the darkness, is without you actually him saying anything, or you can take the subject matter out of the equation. It's ominous straight away because you're looking up at this big grandeur thing with this really ominous lighting. What other things do you see from environment art that can give it the personality and the mood and make it that that extension? It's not just a place to run around in. It's something to absorb. And another one we spoke to with Chris Radsbury last week about was that even though it's a cinematic for a game, it's still the same point. Is the Cyberpunk trailer where they're walking along the train, and the focus is in the background on these big skyscrapers. But then the focus point shifts to this train, which is really grungy and horrible. And instantly, in that shot alone, it's like there's the whole paradigm of the film: rich versus poor, power versus poverty. What other things do you see in environment art that really grab you in that, or can convey that same message? Do you think?
Yeah, from we talked about the macro. I think, like you've just said, conveying thematic, conveying themes and feelings and moods and stuff in even the minor detail takes things a long way. Whether that's placing, struggling people on a dirty, grungy train going past, super expensive, wealthy part of the city in the background, or just having contrast on a smaller scale, and for things that people won't typically or ever really pay attention to. If you do it enough down to that kind of detail, then people might not notice it, but they'll feel it, and that plays a big difference in this feels right or this looks right. And that's not everyone's going to love your piece of art, and that's natural. Everyone's different. We all have different tastes and styles and influences, but taste isn't scalable, to use a business term. But what you can scale is emotion and rapport, because we all understand it, and that's the personal soft skills stuff that we all, that's our artist's intuition. That's what you can yank at in every single art piece you make.
You elaborate on that a bit more. Yeah, sorry, you said you feel like the emotional aspect is scalable.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, I mean, everyone feels it. We all have emotions. You might not like sci-fi films, but watch something like Aliens and you'll feel creeped out. Maybe Aliens back in the day. I don't know. What's scary these days?
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, we're all too
I suppose
desensitized.
no. It's a fucking that movie. For me though, it's scary for the sound. The sound design in that film is incredible.
Mm.
It's just
Sound
interesting. You scalable. It's Yeah, I'm just trying to wrap my head around that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I can't quite. I'm still studying, and I'm still kind of delving into Kubrick and camera angles and how these master directors have managed to do it and create such incredible films, and just put you in such a mental position when actually, you're realistically sitting on a couch with a bag of chips on, on the side or whatever. But you're so mentally locked into what's going on screen because they've used devices like camera or cinematography and lighting and stuff to kind of hook you. Uh, Emotion's never going to go out of fashion because as long as there are humans, there's emotion and there's something you can target.
No, I do agree.
Stuff
with
like
that
style and technical decisions, that's all going to change. It'll always change, and especially in this industry where everything's technical, it's dynamic and things change quickly. But that's always something you can fall nicely back on.
It's just interesting to use scalable. I'm just like I part of me agrees. I'm trying to just wrap my head around why scalable. Like, I suppose, like you said, even if you don't like something, you still trigger a response. So even though if like you don't like My Little Pony, you still trigger a response to it. Not necessarily the response the director wants, but he's triggering a response. But
and potentially that's valuable. I mean,
whoa,
if you've created something and no one feels anything about it, good or bad, then surely that's worse than 90% of people hating it, but then 10% of people really appreciating it.
yeah, that's true. I know that I found with Matthew O posted today is the Mother of Milk scene, and I commented because
I see. That's insane. I've not seen it yet.
Oh, it's great.
I've seen his work in progress.
And I have and this is, I'm still trying to work this out. For me, the response I had to, I mean, take the fact that I love the art out of the equation. It's really unnerving. That was my emotional response. I was unnerved by it. No idea why. It did, and it wasn't because like it was in a foggy scene. It was a subject matter. It was this machine attached to a tree, and that was an emotional response. And I'm curious, and I don't know if I'm ever going to find this out. Do people who don't look at it, because like me and you, we're looking at mediums with more detail. We look through the lens of an artist.
Yeah.
If I go fetch, like, I don't know, my brother who doesn't study art, he doesn't look at art the same way I do. If I spoke to him enough and asked him to just describe how he's feeling when he looks at certain things, can he get to this? Does he feel the same way I might do, without the background understanding of art? Because I was thinking that it's just that idea, scalable emotion. It's a really interesting idea.
Yeah, I mean, throw back to my Those Who Mourn environment. And there's me in my bedroom, crafting away for 3 months, applying to jobs, trying as hard as I can. Get my dad up, he comes in and chats to me or whatever, and he's like, oh, what are you working on? And then he looks at it and he's like, oh, that doesn't look right. The lighting's not right. I don't know what that is. I'm just like, what? How can you? That's an angel. Of course it's an angel. What are you talking about? But actually, him coming up and saying that, looking at it, blowing your eyes, taking a step back, looking at it, I'm like, actually, that's not obvious. That's what I'm trying to convey, or that's the mood I'm trying to get across. So actually, now you've said it, getting an outsider's perspective on it is maybe just as valuable as getting a professional's eye on your work as well.
I think it's super important. It's the old cliche what I always say is my old art lecturer at college. I didn't get much out of college, but one thing I did get was I used to draw a lot of aliens and monsters and fantasy shit. And my art lecturer was like, okay, yeah, it's cool. Don't like it. I can't really critique it apart from your basic drawing skill. He's like, do me a favour, draw something. Go grab your mum, and I always use this analogy. It's like, go grab your mum's mobile phone, draw that, and show it to your mum, not me.
Yeah.
And she'll tell you. She don't need to be an artist. She'll say whether that looks right or wrong. And also, like you said, you need to take that step back. Whenever I talk to people about like that really shitty interview question, what are your weaknesses?
Mhm.
I hate it. But I mean, my response is always and I don't know. I think other artists have this issue too. Is I get tunnel vision. I'm like, I have an idea in my head. This is gonna look cool. I've got this vision in my head, and I want to make this thing. And until that other person comes along and goes, "What are you making? I don't see it." Your gut reaction is to go, "What? What do you mean you can't see it? It's obviously this." And then you're like, "Oh shit, maybe it isn't. Maybe it doesn't look that way." But people don't like to do that though. I don't think people like being told the thing that they've really got that tunnel vision on doesn't look the way they think it does.
Yeah, it's tough. It comes back to getting over that hump because we all have it. You know, I think I don't know. I don't want to speak on behalf of other people, but I can imagine even for people who have been in the industry for 10, 15, 20 years, they still after feedback be like, "Dickhead, I'm not. You know, what do you know? You know, this is sick. Like, of course I know what it is. You're gonna know what it is. You're just making my life difficult." But actually, you know, you kind of got to get over that hump. Be like, yeah, okay, I need to change this, or maybe there's some kind of way of getting around this issue. Being humble and doing, in some circumstances, probably doing what you're told, because with making commercial art, we work for someone. But just valuing other people's perspectives, whether you agree with them or not, is big.
Well, it kind of comes back to what I was saying earlier. You know, it's the people who are above you giving you critique and stuff. Assume they got there through competence. You know, when they say something, don't just disregard it because it's different to your opinion. Like, say a senior or a lead, a director, they're there for a reason. You know, and you're a junior for a reason, or you're a mid artist for a reason, whatever it is, whatever the situation and dynamic might be. It's very naive to discount someone's opinion, and also don't matter who it is. You know, obviously you take this with a grain of salt, but if I show like, I love showing so I do a lot of UI design, and I have a programming friend who helps me with this, and he thinks differently to me, very differently, but always show him my UI, and I'm like, just give it him, just what do you think? And he'll rip it to shreds. He's like, why? I don't get it. Don't like it. I can't use it. I'm like, why? Then I drill in, like, you know, why can't you use that? You know, and that person who has a completely opposite opinion to you, or like viewpoint to you, just looking at something and looking at it in a different way is super valuable. It's just not always pleasant.
Yeah, I think, like you said, we always see this kind of stuff with an artist's perspective, or every day we're thinking about composition and lighting. So when we look at a movie, we're like, oh, I know how that light's been done, or obviously, you know, using central composition here, or oh, there are those leading lines. Here we go again. But to an average person, or to someone who isn't in the know, kind of thing, it might just seem like a cool image, but what their definition of cool is different to your definition of cool. And I think what I like about psychology is it really, you know, that's what makes us so different person to person. Even if we're in the same business and we do the same thing, you can have wildly different perspectives just because of how you've been brought up, or you know, how you're neurobiologically structured. It's kind of fascinating in a way, and that's a whole another rabbit hole.
So I just want to go into one last thing then. So you just sort of touched on that about people being different. I find it very interesting your blog posts. It's wildly different to your profession. I know you're an artist in the games industry, but the way you're looking at stuff, it's not. It's different. What have you always been someone who naturally likes to write and think about things, or was it a conscious decision to like, right, let's actually think about something different to what I do? Where did them blog posts come from? Because they're, by the way, super well written. As someone who likes to read like other people's ideas quite a lot and listen to ideas, it's a very provocative piece. So where did that come from, man?
Those two blog posts, in particular, they're actually part of my dissertation research that I did at university. I had a Wix website with all my stuff set up on there when I was kind of trying to get into the industry, and eventually I shifted everything over to ArtStation. One person who pushed me in that direction was a little well-known fella called Tim Simpson. You might have heard of him. He's kind of a big deal. He had a great blog post about all the reasons why you should be on ArtStation, have your portfolio here instead of on an exterior site. Great blog for students and stuff who are trying to figure out how to present themselves and come across professional but competent, because it's so easy to get with these build your own website design templates and stuff. It's easy to get carried away with that and not think about, oh, actually this button doesn't work and the person can't actually view my art, or oh, here's a broken link, whereas ArtStation takes care of all that. So to bring it back, yeah, all of those blog posts were kind of part of that transition. In terms of, was I always into writing? No. I was okay at writing at school, but I never enjoyed it. And then when Instagram came about, I set up an account and started writing reviews and articles about game industry news, and writing about just games and updates. And that was kind of like, there was a character limit, and back in those days, people, when you look at Instagram, you don't want to read an essay. It's a visual platform. You want to see the pictures. That kind of made me practice writing concisely, and also in an entertaining fashion. So you get across what you want to say, but then you're not dribbling on about this, that, and the other. So that was kind of a big part of growing up. And then when it came to university, that was just an amazing time, an opportunity to practice writing. And I don't mean come home and, oh, I'm passionate about writing, let's write a book or something. It's, oh, you have to write 2,000 words for a report for every module for 3 years, and also at the end 10,000 word dissertation. So after critique and feedback and rounds of discussion in third year about my dissertation and writing and stuff, that really, I ended up enjoying writing after my dissertation. A big part of that, I think, was because I was deeply interested in what I was studying. I know it's not the same for everyone. Writing is tough. Writing well is tough, and I don't think I write particularly well at all. But I do enjoy what I write about, and that's important. So maybe that's the difference. But
what do you think? What's next though? Like, I don't want you to spoil anything in case you're like, I really don't want to say because I want to be surprised. But what's the next idea? So you said this was part of your dissertation, which is fair enough. You strike me as someone who's not done. You seem like you've always got these ideas on your mind. So any other things?
I'm never done. Never done. Who's ever done, man?
But what other things do you want to explore? Because obviously when you're writing, you're thinking. It's the same with this podcast. Like when we're talking about stuff, we're thinking. We're not talking. We're thinking. What's next? What is it you want to think about and write about next?
Art and design, specifically composition and lighting. I think those are topics which are hard to. When it's done right, it's done amazingly, and you notice. But the literature, not when I say literature, I don't mean academic white paper. I mean just general content.
Yeah.
I don't see lots of it, and that's particular subject within environment art which I really, really enjoy. And I can see myself, I'm a bigger picture person, and I get stuck with the technicalities and the details of how to do stuff. But I really enjoy thinking about why and just general high level design. So I'd like to write about composition, and
I'd like to read about it.
Well, you'll have to wait and see.
Right, I'm gonna okay, I don't know what to do with this bit. I want to give you a choice here. This first time I'll do this. Normally I say, oh yeah, if you go back to before you go into industry, what advice would you give yourself? I feel as if that might be a harsh question because you probably still haven't figured that bit out, or you might have, so you can take that question if you want. Or other bit is, what do you see in the future? What have you noticed you need to improve on? So you can pick your question. I'll let you choose whichever one. What would you wish you could tell yourself previously, or what do you feel like you need to do?
Past or future? This is always a good question.
Take your pick.
Go back in time or go into the future?
Not necessarily go into the future, but advice. You know what I mean, like the advice thing.
Yeah.
You 2 years ago, is there something you wish you could just say to you that would make your life easier or better, or you'd be in a better place, or is it a case of you haven't figured it out and you just, you know what, I need to improve at, I don't know, zebra sculpting. I need to do that to get better in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
What's
naturally, I'm a forward-thinking person.
Mm-hmm.
Leave the past in the past. What's done is done. There are lots of things I want to get better at in terms of environment art. I think what I need to get better at is just the general workflow, taking assets through complete pipeline and doing it in a timely manner. That's probably what I need to do the most. And I don't show enough of that on my portfolio. I've got a couple of environments, but the prop work and asset work isn't there. So that's what I'd like to work on. Always, I want to work on lighting and composition, just because that's what I'm passionate about. So you'll definitely see some more of that. You might even see some lighting projects, but I'll keep things done for now.
Very interesting.
I'd like Houdini is one of those things.
It's a bad
It's
word,
like a
bro.
black
I'm gonna
hole.
stop saying that.
Oh, I just used the H word. It's a black hole which I see people doing bits in, and you're just like, it's off in the distance because a few people do it and get involved with it, and big respect to people who can get stuck into that. I'm at the point where I don't even know what the UI looks like because I'm just terrified of the idea. But that's something that's intrigued me enough to kind of pay attention to what's going on with it.
That's
I think
interesting.
it's going to be a really interesting, one of those huge pieces of software. So, like Designer came out and everyone was, blowing their minds about making tilables and trims and stuff with this new piece of software. And you have people like Daniel Tiger and Javier Perez and Lynch and, the greats showing what the industry can do with the software. I think the more Houdini, the better for now, in terms of how it's going to be implemented properly and be at the core of a procedural environment production. I don't know.
That's interesting you say that, because you're into like the composition and like the with lack of a better term, like touchy feely stuff.
Yeah.
And then Houdini's this other end of the spectrum, that's super technical and procedural and efficient. And it's like, it's curious that that's what you're interested in. I'm actually very surprised by that.
I'll always keep my ear to the ground. I see everything, I'll hear everything. Just because I hear about Houdini doesn't make me want to jump into it. And for now, at the grounds of my career, that's not something I want to dive into just yet. But it's something I'll keep an eye on. And I think it's sensible if everyone kind of does the same. But listen to yourself and listen to how you feel and go deep into what you enjoy doing at the end of the day. Because, you only live once and you might as well die doing something you enjoyed rather than doing
Did you just drop a YOLO, sir, on my podcast?
Yeah, I think I did.
Right, we're gonna, you know what, and that's that's not a point to stop, then I don't know what is. Bro, I've been looking forward to having you on, and I wasn't disappointed. It was really great talking to you. Very insightful. It's interesting. So I've had the podcast has had a lot of seniors on. It's great, and I think people are going to be more going to find what you had to say very helpful. Because one thing hearing it from these big names like Josh and Chris and Matthew and Jeremy and all these guys, but you've done it in 2019, and that's where everyone is right now in terms of trying to get into the industry. They're all in 2019 trying to get into the industry, not 2006. So it's very interesting. I think that's going to be very interesting, and I think people are really going to find value in what you've had to say this evening.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hope people have enjoyed it. But I also hope that you get people on like Dirk and Neil and Jay and John Joe and Dirk and
Dirk, you
Rick
getting the
and
shout
Dirk,
outs
and
again.
there's just so many of them, so many young, wicked people who have come out of these art universities and just absolutely crushed it. You know, I'm looking to them as much as it seems like they're looking to me, because in reality, I'm playing a catch-up game. These guys have been doing it for 3 years already, and I've just started. I'm you know, I'm raring to go. I'm not done, so I'm excited to hear what they think and how they get in with the industry and stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Soon. And the meme, just soon. That's what we need.
Soon.
We got there. Right, guys. Everyone who's been in chat, really appreciate you guys hanging out and talking. It means a lot. I'll say now, please, below the Twitch, there's the link to the YouTube channel, the Spotify, the SoundCloud. Please, like, the follow, the likes, and the subscribes make a big difference. It means more people see the podcast, and we can help more people. What we'll say is, on my YouTube channel, there's suggested YouTube channels such as Jeremy. Lucas is on there. I'll link him into the description of this video as well. Please go follow him. Like, Blender is really pulling up trees right now, and he's the guy if you're not on Blender already, he's the guy who's going to help you get on it. He convinced me, and I was a huge skeptic. And when I say convinced, I mean he showed me the light. He showed me why it's better. He didn't just rant at me. So please go follow him. Also, down below is the link to the Dynasty Discord. There's loads of great guys like Kieran, myself, and all of the guys that Kieran's mentioned on the podcast. They're all on there. Industry veterans of all levels, leads, seniors, juniors. I really recommend getting on there. There's critique channels, there's people posting their work, there's troubleshooting channels. It's been the biggest change in my art life. It's something that gave me the kick. I know Kieran mentioned previously that it was a huge stepping stone for him too. So if you're not in there already, please jump on. But Kieran, I'm going to wrap it up for the night. Thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers, Alex. Take care, man.
All right, peace out.